Today, profound demographic changes are deliberately taking place in all white countries and only white countries by means of non-stop third world massive immigration. Due to these open border policies, we white Europeans are on our way to becoming a minority in our own countries. Whether you live in Europe, the United States, Canada, Australia, or any other country with a white population as the majority, you can see similar policies and anti-white rhetoric occurring. Consequently, white Brits are already a minority in the capital city of Great Britain. In numerous countries, including the United States, we whites are now a minority in several states and among national births. Even Scandinavia will be majority non-white within just a few decades at the most if present trends continue. These trends are occurring in all and only white countries. This is not a coincidence, nor an accident. It is a result of deliberative politics with the aim to make every white neighborhood more diverse, meaning less white people. Meanwhile, we do not see any rich Arab countries being forced to open their borders and let in any number of Muslim refugees, nor do we see China or Japan being forced to become a melting pot or to become more diverse. If Senegal or any other African country wants to close their borders, no one who calls themselves anti-racist would bat an eyelid. But we all know what would happen if Germany or France would choose to close their borders. The pressure of having massive, non-stop third world immigration is only forced upon white countries. All the non-white countries are allowed to be homogeneous. These policies are justified with the use of nice-sounding words, or rather, with the use of psychological warfare. Words such as solidarity, equality, and freedom are used in order to justify massive third world immigration. Diversity is our strength is only heard in white countries because that is the point. Any concerned white person who opposes these policies is called the R word. With the use of terminology, extreme politics are being imposed, leaving any opposition to be met with demonization and political correctness, resulting in fewer people brave enough to speak up against it. Forcing integration and assimilation becomes top priority once the non-white population are abundant in our countries. Combating areas that are too white becomes the imperative in the anti-white mindset, leaving one to question. If skin color does not matter, then why is racial diversity in all and only white countries so important? An overview of what is happening can thus be summarized into the following steps. First, forcing non-stop immigration into all white countries and only white countries. Second, forcing integration and assimilation until people become a minority in their own countries. Third, demonize and silence any opposition. Fourth, promote a blended humanity in all and only white countries. And fifth, in the name of diversity and multiculturalism, our countries and populations are transforming beyond recognition by means of deliberate politics and policies of massive third world immigration. This is genocide as defined in Article 2, Section C by the UN International Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide. Genocide means any of the following acts committed with the intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group, as such deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. The anti-white mindset. Who is an anti-white? First things first. Let's go over the term anti-white and who it applies to. Some people are mistakenly interpreting anti-white as being non-white. This is not the case, as anyone can be anti-white. It is a state of mind. In fact, most anti-whites are whites, although they are usually known by other names such as liberal, left-wing activist, anti-fascist, or even conservative, as not all people with an anti-white mindset are members of the political left.
Please clap.
You would be surprised how many in the political right would slander anyone who acknowledges the demographic consequences of massive immigration just to appear more respectable to the mass media and left-wing establishment. The common denominator for these people, however, is that they are referring to themselves as being anti-racist, and that these people will accuse anyone who is opposing massive immigration or wanting to secure a future for our people as being racist, or a Nazi that wants to kill 6 million Jews. This is the reason why anti-racist is just a code word for anti-white. The anti-white mindset. The anti-white mentality is a core belief that white people are essentially evil, and that they are the root cause of most of the world's problems in one way or another. People with this mindset have been conditioned, usually their whole life, into this state of mind, as this is largely a result of years of indoctrination, primarily induced by mass media and the educational systems in the West. For years, generations have been taught that white people are unfairly privileged and that we oppress other peoples for our own selfish gains. We have been taught that we share a collective guilt due to historical misdeeds done in the past, hence the term white guilt. Anti-whites often refer to the colonization of the Americas, the African slave trade, or other forms of oppression as unique crimes of white people in which we need to be punished for, despite the fact that all peoples on earth are guilty of slavery and conquest. In fact, one of the largest colonial empires in the history of mankind was the Turkish Ottoman Empire. But no one is accusing them of being racist supremacists, or that they share a collective guilt and therefore need to be punished for it. No one is forcing China to open their borders for invading Tibet. No one blames all living Asians for the deeds of Genghis Khan. This procedure is only applied to white people in order to justify non-stop immigration into white countries. It does not matter if Swedes or Finns had nothing to do with the conquest of the Americas. All white people are guilty in the mind of the anti-white. A contradictory mindset. As the anti-white mentality is more often than not subconscious, most anti-whites, or even people in general, fail to see the many contradictions surrounding the anti-white mindset. As explained before, anti-whites have no problem identifying who is white when they refer to negative circumstances, when they want to talk about slavery or racial discrimination, for example, whether they are historical or contemporary. But as soon as someone opposes massive immigration into all and only white countries, they suddenly have a hard time identifying who is white. They either start to deny the existence of white people by claiming that we all bleed red, the only race is the human race, or by demanding you to define who is white, which they have no problems with in negative contexts. It certainly is a slanted world view. They justify non-stop immigration to the point that we are becoming a minority by claiming that skin color doesn't matter. But at the same time, they demand a melting pot of racial diversity in all white countries. They declare their love for diversity, but at the same time they proclaim that we are all the same, and that we should become a blended humanity. They say they love multiculturalism, but at the same time they strive to make every country indistinguishable. Sweden is no longer Swedish. France is no longer French. Britain is no longer British. They are all multicultural societies. They claim that they are standing up for equal rights, but at the same time they deny white people their right to their own homelands. In the anti-white mindset, only white people can be racist. You never hear anyone who calls themselves anti-racist accuse an African person of being racist for not wanting African countries to become non-African. You never hear them scream Nazi to Japanese people for wanting Japan to be predominantly Japanese. If Senegal would close their borders tomorrow, none of them would bat an eyelid. But if Germany chose to close their borders, we all know what the reaction would be. It's a white countries for everybody principle. Anti-whites themselves believe that they are on the side of good, standing up for equal rights. But in reality, all their arguments and reasoning always arrives at the same conclusion. White people are bad, and anyone who does not agree that we should become a minority in our own countries is a Nazi who wants to kill 6 million Jews. This is the reason why they are in fact anti-white, and it is our job to remind them of that. Understand that these people are not good. They are anti-white, and their subconscious intention is to justify our people becoming a minority in our own countries. Everything they say essentially leads to a world without white people. All of this will be explained more in detail in future videos.